So the first tool I want to talk about, and the first tool that's outlined in Chapter 4, is about using small group exercises, breakout rooms, dyads, or triads. These are really simple. We essentially just break up the larger group into smaller groups. Perhaps the simplest way of doing this that mitigates what we call the sociodynamic effect, which is this underlying social force that results in people being unchosen or chosen last. We always want to be aware of this when we're facilitating groups, and especially when we're facilitating sociometry tools. So a simple way of breaking the group up into smaller groups, if you're on Zoom, you can use the random breakout room generator. If you're in person, you can simply ask the group to count off. So if I have a group of 15 participants and I want to create 5 groups of 3, I can ask the group to count off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we just go right around the circle. And then I ask all the 1s to come to this area of the room, all the 2s to go to a different area of the room, the 3s, the 4s, and the 5s. And we end up with 5 groups of 3. So there's lots of different ways that you could break the group up into smaller groups. Once you have them broken up into smaller groups, it helps to generate a series of prompts related to the group goals and individual goals and the group topic, while following that 3-phase clinical map. So for example, in some of my trauma groups, I might start by asking the clients to first share about a personal strength that they have that they think could help them in their recovery from trauma. Then I might ask them to share about one way the trauma has negatively impacted them, a way that it's interfering in their daily life or their relationships. And then as a third future-oriented prompt, I could ask them to share about one goal they have for their trauma recovery going forward. So we're following this 3-phase clinical map, which allows the group members to titrate in and out of the difficult content, while also practicing vulnerability with each other based on positive criteria. So these small groups are really simple, and the clients in one of my inpatient groups, they over and over again in their satisfaction surveys, they comment on how powerful these small groups are for them. That it's a lot more difficult and scary for them to share in front of a larger group with 10 or 15 participants than to share in a smaller group with just 2 or 3 other participants. That it feels a lot safer to share with 1 or 2 other people. And so because of this, I spend a lot of time in smaller groups during the early phases of my group development. These are very simple to facilitate. So even if you're a new group therapist or just learning about psychodrama, sociometry, and group dynamics, this is a really simple tool that you can use. It's much more efficient to break up the group into smaller groups than to stay as a larger group. In the example I provided a moment ago, we have 5 smaller groups all discussing the topic, their strengths, their trauma, and their goals, all at the same time, whereas if we had sat in a bigger circle, only one person would have been able to talk at a time. So we can get 5 times the work done by using smaller groups than if we were to stay as a larger group. Using small groups like this and breakout rooms really promotes mutual aid and peer support, which is that third trauma-informed principle. It positions group members to be therapeutic agents for each other, to support each other, to rely on each other, to show up for each other, and offer nurturing and insight for each other. So there's lots of good reasons to use these smaller groups, and if you wanted to learn more about this simple process, you could check out Chapter 4 in my book.